Hello everyone, Rebecca here from Simple Suburban Living, and in this video I'm going to show you how to water bath can some hot peppers. So I'm starting off by washing my jars and my lids. I'm washing 7 in some very hot, I can handle it, but it's extremely hot, soapy water. And if I end up needing more, I will wash more. But I'm starting off with 7 because that's what easily fits in the canner. So we'll see what happens. I'll bring you back when I start filling the jars. Okay, now there's a lot of people who say that you no longer have to boil your lids, simmer your lids. And yet I'm still going to do it just to make sure that I have a good seal. So I've washed my jars, I've got my lids simmering on a very low temperature. So that's just how I'm doing it, hoping for a good seal on all of these. Now these are yellow peppers. That was just what they were called at the store. I don't know very much about them, but you can see how they fit onto my hand, and I do have fairly small hands. I would say this is probably 3 or 4 inches long, the pepper is, okay? And my goal has been to can my own banana peppers, but up to this point I haven't been able to find any, and I do plan on planting some and growing some myself in the future, but in the meantime I'm just making do with what I can find at the grocery store. Okay, so the first step is that I want to cut the tops off of these peppers and I want to seed them. I'm gonna just cut off the top. And by the way, I'm not throwing these away. I'm going to put them in my compost. So I'm just putting those into this plastic bag and I'm going to add them to my compost. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going around and taking out the seeds. I'm not worrying about getting every little seed out, but you can say that I'm taking out the seeds. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to cut them about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick, like so. And I'm just going to put them into the jars as I cut them. And the reason I'm doing it that way is I don't know exactly how many jars I'll be able to fill and how much brine that I'll need. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill my jars first, and then I'm going to make my brine. Now maybe that is or is not the right way to do it, but until I get a better feel on this, on how to do this is my first time pickling peppers, I just thought that that would be a good way to know how much brine I need to make. Okay, so I've got 1 pepper out of the way, and just going to cut the top off, put that into the bag. Okay, I had to stop for a minute and let my mom's dog in because you probably could hear, oops, I forgot to take the seeds out. Got a little bit distracted, so I'm going to just go like so. And again, there's some seeds still in there. That's okay. But I'm putting these seeds aside because I am planning on saving them, and I'll make a video about that as well. And then continue slicing. And I'll continue that until I've cut up all of the peppers, and I'll bring it back at that point. I forgot to mention that I am going to add a clove of garlic to each jar. Now, I've read different recipes. Some of them say to put a little bit of garlic in the brine, and some put a clove of garlic directly into the jar. I am going to put the garlic in the jar, and my thinking with that is that I like garlic. I mean, that's really the bottom line. So I'm going to start with, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll start with that, and we'll see how many jars I end up with. Now, I used to absolutely hate peeling garlic, and that was until I found out that the best way to do it is just to take a flat object of some sort. You can take a butcher knife or whatever. This is just a little spatula. Place it on the clove, whack it, and you'll see that the peel comes right off. Now, obviously, if you're wanting these to look pretty, that's not so great because it's all kind of crushed up. But I actually think from a flavor perspective, it's better if it's crushed up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to take everything out, but I'm just going to stick this garlic in there. I took some of them out. And the other ones, I'll put the garlic down at the bottom. Okay? So I'll be adding the clove of garlic to the empty jars. And then putting this one's a little more stubborn. Then putting the peppers on top. Okay? So I'll bring you back when I have them all full. Of the peppers, I could have probably filled them a little bit higher, but I had a 7th jar that was only maybe halfway full, so I ended up kind of dividing them amongst the jars. I also have these seeds that I'm going to separate out from the center part and dry them, and I'll show you that process in a separate video. And then I also have these in pieces and some of the garlic, the dry papery outsides of the garlic that I put in here too for the compost. Okay, so with these 7 jars, I'm thinking that I need just 3 cups of vinegar and 1 cup of water. So I'm going to put that on to heat now. This is basically a half a recipe from what's in the ball book for pickled peppers. And so everything is the same. I'm doing everything the same except for I'm just making it about half as much. Okay, so that was 1 cup, 2 cups, and that's 3 cups of white vinegar. And I'm adding 1 cup of water. And I'm just going to bring that up to a simmer. The recipe called to boil it for 5 minutes, but that was putting the garlic in here. And since I'm putting the garlic directly into the jars, and you can probably see there's a little piece of garlic down there, I'm not bothering. I'm just going to bring this up to a simmer. And I've also decided that I'm going to put just a pinch of salt in each jar. The salt is not required, but I like a little bit of salt, so I'm putting just a pinch of what I have is kosher salt. Okay, so I let the brine simmer for a couple of minutes, and now I'm going to fill my jars. Just using this ladle. And my goal is to get it about to this bottom rim. I don't currently have a debubbler, so I'm just going to use this plastic spatula and kind of just poke around there, hopefully without tearing up any of the peppers. And you can see that the brine went down a little, so I need to add just a little bit to that. Not much though. That's probably going to be good. Yep. All right, and so I'm going to continue this process with all 7 jars. Kind of be where I can have it in camera view for you. And actually, let me go ahead and finish 1 jar at a time, and then that way you can see the whole process. So I'm going to slide this jar over here that I have already filled with the brine, and I'm going to use this bowl that has some vinegar and just wipe the top of the rim to make sure that it's good and clean. And I'm going to take a lid. Now remember, I went ahead and simmered these lids. Even though they say you don't have to, I went ahead and did that. I'm going to put a lid on. And then the band. And I'm going to do it fingertip tight. So I've screwed it all the way, but not real tight. Okay, now before I start adding these to the pot, I'm going to bring the camera around so you can see the pot and see what I'm doing over there. So I've put on the green weight since I am in a higher altitude. and the instruction book said to put it on airtight when you plug it in. So I've done that, but before I start it, it says to go to the exhaust thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on exhaust now just so I don't forget. And you can see that I have this rack which has these little feet on there, and I'm putting that down. And then I'm using the jar lifter to put the jar in. So I'm going to fill all of these in, and then I will add water to this. So go ahead and show you another one that I'm doing. All right, so I'm putting the funnel there. I'm adding the brine. And I'm going to debubble. Okay, and that is just slightly above what I want in terms of, actually, let me see. Is just slightly above where I want it. So I'm going to just take a spoon and get out a little bit of that and put it in the next one. Make sure I don't have too much in there. Okay, that's perfect. All right, and I'm going to take the lid out of the hot water and add it on. Take a ring, put it fingertip tight, and I'm going to add it to the canner. So I'm going to keep doing that process until I've gotten all of them done, and then I'll show you the next step. Oh, I just realized that on that second one I didn't wipe the rim, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Taking the lid back off of that one, I'm going to use the paper towel with some vinegar on it. Water would be fine on something like this, but I'm in the habit of using the vinegar. So, and then put it fingertip tight. All right, I'll take you back when I get to the next step. Okay, I now have my 7 half-pint jars in the canner, and since I used hot brine and the jars were slightly hot because I had cleaned them in hot water, I'm adding in hot water. Now, since I'm water bath canning, I need to come above the jars. So I'm adding some more water, and it's still not above the jars yet. I've added some more water. I'm going to add a little bit more until it brings it up above the lid, right? Adding more. Whoa, I'm splashing all over. And I'm going to add just a little more. It's barely above the lids, and I want it to this fill line. So I'm adding more water now because I want to make sure that it's a good inch above the jars. Okay, that is great. All right, so I'm going to put the lid down, and this green little thing is set to exhaust. There's a little arrow here and it says exhaust. Let's see. So right here there's an arrow and I've set it to exhaust. Okay, now I'm going to bring it down to where I start the canner. So, oh, actually first I need to shut it. Keep in mind this is my first time of ever using this. So I grabbed a hold of the handle and I just turned it until it was at the closed position. All right, so I'm going to select water bath and then time. And the time for this particular canning recipe is 10 minutes, but I'm in a high altitude, so I'm going to set it to 15. And then I'm going to press start. And basically that's all there is to this. It will end up heating up to the right temperature, and then it's going to count down for 15 minutes, and I'll bring you back when it gets to that point. Since this is my first time of using this canner, I am actually reading the instructions, and it talks about the control panel used for water bath, and to press the water bath steam button, which I did, press the time, which I did, and make sure the pressure limiting valve is set to exhaust, which I did. And then it says next, press the start button. Do not press the pressure cook button at the bottom of control panel. And then the digital chase will begin to rotate. So I think they're calling this the digital chase. And it says the unit should begin to boil in 20 to 25 minutes. You will see a constant stream of steam coming from the pressure. You will see a constant stream of steam coming from the pressure exhaust valve when boil has been reached. Press start again when the constant stream of steam is seen. This will activate the timer. So sorry, my mom just came home and her dog is all excited. And it says do not hit the start button a third time. So basically when the steam starts coming out, then I need to press the start button again, and then it will start counting down. Okay, it took about 23 minutes to come all the way up to a boil, and you probably can't see, but up in here there is a stream of steam coming. That means it's ready. So I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to hit start. And you'll see that on the display here that it says 15. So that's going to start counting down now. I'll leave this on just till it shows the 14, and I'll speed it up, of course, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. Then I'll stop the video and I'll come back when it's about ready to count all the way down. Yeah, I hear it bubbling nicely, lots of steam coming out. Just waiting for it to count. Now you can see it just hit 14. Okay, so I'm going to stop the timer, or stop the camera rather, and I'll bring you back when it's about done. That the timer has now gone down to 1 minute, and so it'll be finished up here in just a minute, and I'll show you what happens at that point. You can hear there's still steam coming out. Okay, now it's going to off. And what the instructions say is that when boiling is complete, carefully turn the lid clockwise 1/8 of a turn and open the lid. All right, so it says to do it 1/4 of a turn and then to open up the lid. Now, you can see that they're still boiling very nicely. It did say to then remove the jars, but I am so used to waiting a little bit, so I'm going to wait just a minute or two to let things settle down a little bit. That just makes me feel a little better. It doesn't say to do that, so I'm assuming it's fine not to. But I'm going to wait about 1 minute, and you know, just with this lid open, give it some time for some of that heat to go out, for things to cool down just a little bit. Okay, so it's been about a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the jars. You can see how lovely those look. They're nice and bubbling. I'm going to put them over. You probably can't see because of this lid. Put that lid down. I'm going to put them over on a towel, and then I'll show you when I've gotten all of them out. Now this one, you can see I'm having problems with it. It fell all the way over. So it may or may not seal properly. If that's the case, then I'll just put it in the fridge. I'm going to put it actually in the front, so I'll remember that I had the problem with that one. Oops, I already heard a pop. Don't know if you guys could hear that, but one of them has popped already, which is awesome. All canners love the sound of those popping lids. goes another one. Oh, there goes another one. It sounds like they're all popping, which is awesome. Oh, just heard another one. Okay, so let me show you. Those are the 7 jars that I pulled out. I'm going to let them sit there overnight, and then I'll let you know how they turned out and if I had any that failed. Now, keep in mind this was my very first time using this particular canner, and I'm sure I'll get my process down better over time. But I do have to say that it was quite easy to do, even though this was my first time doing it. So I'll bring it back in the morning and let you know how this turned out, if any of them failed to seal, and so on.